All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. And you know what time it is? It's Friday. We have ourselves an injury report, game status report. It's fairly definitive right now for both teams. We have a pretty good idea of what we're looking at on both sides. The Seahawks report came out a little while ago, but I wanted to wait for the Packers to come out, and it now has as of like 2 minutes ago. So let's go ahead and take a look. Curtis Crabtree supplies the Seahawks side of things. We don't have the full practice report yet, but we don't necessarily need it given these statuses and what McDonald said in his press conference. So we've got a pretty good picture of what is going on right now when it comes to the Seahawks' health. So let's take a look here. Curtis Crabtree has the latest. It's a little bit longer than you might have thought, but when you really drill down into it, it's not particularly substantial. There's a good list here, but the impact is going to be minimal. So out. We've got 5 players out in this game. You got Trey Brown out. I believe they said that they don't expect he's going to have to go on injured reserve, but he is going to miss one more game. Again, he's not really playing right now. His role on this team has been reduced down to a special teamer, and I don't think that that's a particularly big loss to not have Trey Brown. Jarek Reed the second, safety with the quadricep, is out, and there was an implication from McDonald that he might go on IR after this game. If that's how he feels, I'm not sure why he hasn't already gone on IR, because at this point you're already pushing it to the end of the season, whether or not he can come back, because there aren't even 4 games left after this. Well, there are 4 games left now. There will be less than 4 games left after this game. So I don't totally know what's going on there, but that's another player, special teamer. That's another guy who is not particularly impactful on your team. And he hasn't even been playing that well on special teams this year, if we're being honest. So he just hasn't been able to get it right this year yet. He missed most of the early part of the season with the injury he had last year. Now we got this. But Seattle, they have their 3 safeties, right? And Jarek Reed's not one of them, so not a big impact there. And then you've got Brady Russell also out. He plays a few snaps a game, mostly as like a fullback surrogate, and then he does some stuff on special teams. So not having him is not a particularly big loss. You can certainly survive without him. So, Brady Russell will be out. Another guy who maybe goes on IR at some point next week. We also have 2 guys that couldn't quite make it off the IR activation. Stone Forsythe with the hand injury is out. So no activation for him yet, but with everything that we've seen over the last week or so, looks like he'll be ready to go after this game. So I expect him to be activated back to the roster after this game, sometime next week. Same for Kayvon Wallace. And again, neither player is a player that you'd expect to play at all, really. Kayvon Wallace at this point is your 4th safety with the way things are working with the top 3 safeties, and Forsythe is your backup tackle. They'd play probably a little bit on special teams, and that's about it. So minimal impact on the players that are out, but we do have a couple players who are doubtful. Ken Walker is doubtful. According to McDonald, he did not practice today, and they don't anticipate he'll be ready to go for game day. They think it's possible, but for the moment they are listing him as doubtful. So the good news is that last week they set him to out on Saturday. So the fact that he's doubtful now means there is some kind of progress, but doesn't look like it's going to be enough. That's certainly the one impactful loss of this list. He's the starting running back, but this team has been put together in a way that can survive losing their top running back. That's why we drafted Zach Charbonnet, and to a certain extent, that's why you have a guy like Kenny McIntosh on the roster. So there should be enough in the chamber for us to survive not having Walker, but I would anticipate at this point he's not going to play. And As a Seahawks fan, I am okay with that. The team showed they can easily survive him as long as the rest of the team is playing up to standard last week against a good Cardinals team. Maybe the Packers are better than the Cardinals, I'm sure, but they've showed that they can find a way without him. And maybe, hopefully, this means that Ken Walker is going to be good to go at the end of the year after a couple of weeks off because of this injury. And we get our top running back and one of our top playmakers back in time for the last few games and hopefully the playoffs. Artie Burns, also doubtful. Again, that's a player who, even if he is healthy, would play minimally, mostly special teams. Maybe he'd play a little bit in like 4 cornerback packages, dime packages, but it seems like the Seahawks are very happy to only play 3 cornerbacks, and they like the 3 cornerbacks they're currently working with. So it's a substantial list, but when you break it down, really only one actual injury looks like it's going to matter. Nobody is questionable. So let's flip on over to the Packers here. Jason Hirschhorn here on X has the final injury report from Green Bay, and I'll tell you, things have flipped dramatically for Green Bay. What looked pretty good going into the week is, or going into today, really, is not looking so good now. Corey Ballentine is questionable. Okay, that could go one way or the other. But the Corey Ballentine injury looms larger than it normally would because Jaire Alexander, after a week of mostly practicing, I guess he didn't practice today, and he is out. No Jaire Alexander. Not even a hobbled Jaire Alexander. No Jaire Alexander. That's a big deal. And without him, that secondary feels like there's just something missing. And you've also got Javon Bullard. Javon Bullard is out. So that's 2 big pieces of that secondary that they're not going to have. So this becomes a game that I think we have to reevaluate a little bit on the Packers side as well, because every indication I had going into today was that Jaire Alexander was fine. And Luke Musgrave also out. He was trying to make it back this week. They're going to hold him out. This definitely changes things. This injury report looks worse for Green Bay than it does for Seattle. And that's with Ken Walker out. That's surprising. And I think when you add this all up, you've got a recipe that pretty straightforwardly spells out how the Seahawks get a win and what the path is to that win. So surprisingly injured Packers after all. I really thought they were going to be clean for this game. They are not. Not even close, really. This is no small thing. All right. I'm going to go and get out of here. I'll see you guys later today. Go Hawks. That's the injury report on both sides. Let me know what you guys think. And all that's left, really, is to talk about the game tomorrow morning. See you guys then.